So we have another Supreme Court decision here. We had gotten lucky with some of the earlier rulings, the DACA ruling, which was like a temporary win for the left, but that can, if the paperwork's resubmitted and if they give the Supreme Court a better reason, then the Dreamers are at the whim of the Trump administration. So it's only a temporary win for the left. I think it was a long-term win for the left that, that the LGBTQ community is now protected under non-discrimination clauses. That was a legit win. But now the losses are rolling in, one after the other. And this one's really bad. So Vice News reports here, breaking, the Supreme Court just ruled that employers can deny birth control to workers for religious or moral reasons. So, let me explain this a little bit to you. Under Obamacare, birth control was covered. So it's covered as, part of your employer plans. Basically what Obamacare did is they got rid of like the bare bones basic plans where you pay a very tiny amount per month, catastrophic insurance it was called. And basically you're only covered if you're about to die. That was the catastrophic plans. The Obama administration looked at that and said, okay, this is just a scam. You're just robbing people and you're not actually providing insurance, but you're charging people money. So this isn't really coverage. So they banned those catastrophic plans and they basically forced the insurance companies to cover more stuff. That was one of the parts of Obamacare that's great, along with the, pre-existing conditions protections, along with kids being able to stay on their parents' health care until they're 26 years old, along with 80% of the money that goes to health insurance companies now has to be spent on health care. Before, you had crazy ratios. Some companies, it was 50-50, 50% of the money for overhead and nonsense and 50% for actual care. It was abysmal. It was a terrible industry. Obamacare only made it slightly better. But there were some things that made it better. Well, one of the things is, under Obamacare plans, you had birth control was covered, full stop. Now, there were a bunch of lawsuits over this because what happened was you had, the Hobby Lobby case. Remember the Hobby Lobby case? The idea is, what if you have a business where the owners are very religious and they provide health insurance to their employees, but they have an objection. The employer has an objection to birth control. What do you do in a situation like that? Because they argue, well, I'm paying for the birth control, and I'm against birth control, so I don't want to pay for the birth control. So no, the government cannot force me to pay for this birth control through this health insurance plan for my employees. So that's basically the argument. Now, we had one previously on this issue, but now the Supreme Court just ruled that employers can deny birth control to workers for religious or moral reasons. So think about the precedent that was just set here. The Supreme Court is saying it's okay to get in between your worker and their doctor. See, when you talk about Medicare for all, single-payer health care, there's nobody to get in between you and your doctor. You get to make every decision, and the doctor is going to, take care of you the proper way. With this insane private for-profit health insurance racket, this is the opposite of freedom. This is tyrannical. Why should a third party have anything to say about what you and your doctor are in favor of? Why should they be able to get in between you and your doctor? And think about the logic of this, guys. So what if you have an employer who's massively, colossally anti-vaccine? Now, this isn't some theoretical thing here because there are plenty of hardcore Christians who are anti-vaccine. There are plenty of ultra-Orthodox Jews, for example, who are anti-vaccine. This is a common thing among religious fundamentalists, is they're against vaccines. So what if you have an employer who's like, I'm against vaccines. I refuse to have my money go towards vaccines. So yeah, I give my workers health insurance, but I don't want any birth control. I don't want any vaccines. Under this logic, you'd have to let them deny vaccines to their workers because they have a personal religious objection to it. We have these like weird carve-outs in the law to bend over backwards to let religious fundamentalists get away with whatever the hell they want to get away with. Like, okay, why not take this to its logical conclusion? There are some religions that still believe in some sort of human sacrifice, or at least animal sacrifice. Should you allow them to get away with that? Because, hey, it's their religion, so who are we to say our silly secular laws against murder don't apply because it's a religious ritual they're doing, so therefore it's okay. There were previous Supreme Court cases on this when it came to, I believe it was Native Americans who they smoked peyote as part of a religious ritual, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that because we have secular laws against smoking peyote, so you don't get to say, oh, it's just my religion, and then you override the secular laws. You can't do that. Well, now this is the exact opposite of that. You can override a secular law because you personally are against birth control. By the way, who cares if the employer's against birth control? It's not your health insurance. Oh yeah, but I'm providing it to my workers, so therefore it's mine. No, if you compensate your workers with money and they go and buy something that you might be against. So let's say a worker goes out and buys a sex toy or something, and the hardcore religious owner is, they have a personal, moral, religious objection to sex toys. Is the owner allowed to say, whoa, don't spend that money I just gave you on sex toys? They have no say in it. Because why should they have any say in it? Once you compensate them, that's their money. Once you give them the health insurance, that's their health insurance. So it doesn't matter what they're getting treatment for or what is going on between them and their doctor. You no longer have a say. That's their business. If you don't like birth control, then you don't get birth control. If you don't like vaccines, then you don't get a vaccine. You can't stop them from getting a vaccine or getting birth control or taking the money that you gave them and then buying a sex toy or whatever it is. The logic of it makes no sense unless you're just bending over backwards to carve out special exemptions for religion. And beyond that, give the boss way more control over the workers' lives than should ever be the case. This has always been the problem with traditional, anarcho-capitalism. Or, today, like hardcore libertarianism, as it's called. The idea that the free market is the best. Because what the libertarians don't understand is, yes, they get that the government can be tyrannical and they overstep their bounds and they're against that form of tyranny. What they're not against is private forms of tyranny. When you look at a company, it's a little tyranny because you have a rigid hierarchy in the company. You have the owner who's, at the top of the food chain here. And then you have, somebody underneath them, some sort of CEO or manager. They're next in command. And you got the workers underneath them. So libertarians understand that it's tyrannical for the government to tell you to do all these things, right? The government forcing you to do something is unacceptable. But for some reason, when it's a private company and there's a rigid hierarchy and they're controlling your lives in very direct ways, making you do many things that you necessarily don't want to do, controlling the kind of medicine you can take and stuff, all of a sudden that form of tyranny is okay just because it's under a different name. It's under the name of a private corporation, therefore the tyranny's fine. And people can bark orders at you, and people can control your life directly with medical decisions. Do you not see how that's a form of tyranny? And in this case, religious tyranny? I mean, it's comical. It's absolutely comical. So, no, your boss should not have this kind of control over your life. I mean, your boss is making personal medical decisions for you because they have an issue with it. No, once you give them that health insurance, you got nothing to do with it. You shouldn't have anything to do with it. That's their health insurance. Just like when you pay them, they could do whatever the hell they want with that money. That's their money now. So, I mean, this is what happens when you get an overwhelmingly conservative Supreme Court. And by the way, don't ever expect consistency either when you talk about these issues, because this was like Antonin Scalia, the very famous far right-wing Supreme Court justice who's hailed as this like brilliant intellectual. He contradicted himself all the time. He would go back and forth on the conservative position of states' rights nonstop. He did it when it came to states legalizing marijuana. He would say, oh, no. See, the supremacy clause of the Constitution means the federal government overrides the state government, so therefore the federal government says marijuana is illegal, so the state governments can't make marijuana legal. Okay, well, that's a contradiction to his position on the case involving immigration, where Arizona wanted to build their own border wall, and the federal government said, you can't do that because that's our job. We control the national border. We're the national government. And Antonin Scalia said, no, Arizona absolutely can build their own border wall because of states' rights. So they get to make whatever decision they want to make. Well, wait, which is it? You just said with marijuana, no states' rights, the federal government overrides it. But with the border, the federal government doesn't override it and they have states' rights. Which is it? It's just whatever they personally believe in is what they'll then rationalize on. Like that's what it is. It's, I think X, now I'm just going to come up with some sort of highfalutin sounding rationalization to get away with it. Like that's what that is. And so here we have, it's the best argument for single payer I've ever seen. Because who the hell wants their boss getting in between them and their doctor? Who wants their boss determining what's allowed in their health insurance? Who wants that? Nobody wants that. Get your hands out of my personal life. And I think most people could understand how absurd this is. And most people are going to go, wow, if only we could craft some sort of system where a third party can't butt in and determine what I can and can't do. That system does exist. It's called Medicare for All. And under a system like that, you want your birth control, you can get your birth control. And by the way, in some countries, it's just over the counter. I mean, maybe that's the solution as well. Just birth control should be over the counter. But this certainly is not the correct answer. It really shows you how backwards our economy is in many ways. That your boss can have this much control over your personal life because they have opinions on stuff. Are you allowed to do that to them? Are you allowed to say to them, hey, I don't agree with you buying that, or I don't agree with you, doing that medical procedure? Can you say that to them? Of course you can. But they could say it to you. I think it's comically absurd, but yet here we are again and expect a lot more decisions similar to this moving forward.